Hey guys, so I'm going to do kind of an overview of the project, but I'm going to focus specifically on just going over the stage where we're at, kind of talking about the bibliography that we're going to be kind of starting before we start the essay, so kind of focusing on that bibliography part with more details to come about the essay as we get a little bit closer to it, and then also about the workshop that we're doing this week. So I'm going to go to our assignment sheets. And you can also actually, there's this page, but let me put this on student view. You can also go to our modules and kind of just go down to the inquiry project. So I'm going to go to the overview page. It's basically a two-part project. We're practicing, again, having everybody choose a topic. We don't really have a theme, but we're working on taking or identifying sort of a bigger issue that you're interested in and kind of trying to be able to say what you want to know about it and come up with kind of a question or something that you want to explore and understand more about the conversation taking place. And we are starting with the bibliography so we can kind of get our feet wet and learn about the topic and some background and some different perspectives before we start really thinking about the essay. Keep in mind the goals and objectives of this project. So I want to kind of focus in on here. Remember, this is a platform for working on those bigger goals, being able to be aware of your own kind of rhetorical situation, have your own, be aware of strategies to be clear, communicate with your audience, be aware of what is going on behind the scenes of a text, being also a good critical reader and evaluator and analyzer and question asker, being able to really use sources, being able to reflect on your own work, your own practices, your own composing processes, understanding the genre and the conventions of it that you're working in. So these are the main things we're getting at through the project. And again, there's these two parts, the bibliography and the digital essay. The digital essay is the part where you kind of take a seat at the table in the conversation. The bibliography is more of trying to get at more of a well-rounded, objective look at the conversation taking place. So you're coming at it as more of a reporter. You're saying this is what others are saying, not necessarily revealing how you maybe personally feel or having a bias kind of squeeze in there at all. So this is something we're going to be working on through the course of the semester. I want to focus on these banned topics. I'm going to open this, see if I can get it just a little bit bigger. This is the list of banned topics, and I'll explain why a lot of them, some of them are banned, some of them are just easy go-to topics, they're things that have been done and done and done, and they don't typically produce good projects or solid projects for a couple of reasons. Either they are so overdone that it's really difficult to dig below the surface because everybody already knows a lot about it anyway in terms of what the different perspectives are, any current information, it's been well researched by so many people that there's going to be 50,000 results and you can't seem to get to where the really good or new information is, so it ends up being really superficial. Or they're based on a lot of things like values or preferences or things that are really difficult to really get good research with. So abortion, nature versus nurture, again, this is a big thing. Nature versus nurture weighs into 1,000 top or more, topics. So just nature versus nurture by itself, it's always going to be both, but it depends on the topic you're attaching it to, so it's just way too big. Smoking bans, comparisons of religion, because if you're going to talk about is one better than the other or more right than the other, then you have to be able to prove right through research and studies, and you have to be able to do all the religions that have ever existed. It's just a lot. Direct comparisons between things. Those are just always really problematic and not too many places to go. Eating disorders can come up in your topic. I'm not saying you can't research anything where eating disorders come up, because lots of things that deal with media and body image and things like that come up with eating disorders. Just not what are the eating disorders that exist, because it's just a report. tattoos in the workplace, capital punishment, the existence of God, life after death, athlete or profession, student or professional athlete pay. There is something going on, I think, with like student athletes being paid now. So this is typically on my list. But if you want to talk to me about the current stuff going on with student athlete pay, I'd be open to talking to you about that at your workshop. Texting and driving, changing the driving age, lowering the drinking age, same-sex marriage, any other LGBTQ anything is on the table, just not that one. Euthanasia or assisted suicide, conspiracy theories, QAnon, 9/11, Tupac, the Illuminati. If you could prove it with research, then it wouldn't be a conspiracy theory. Restrictions of dangerous pet breeds, evolution versus creationism, drug use in sports of any kind, concussions in football, the reality of witchcraft. Okay, don't laugh. I'm serious. It wouldn't be on the list if it hadn't been tried multiple times. Okay, so it has come up. How to be fit. I don't mean health. Health as a whole produces really awesome questions and projects. Awesome. I fully support your desire to research health-related stuff. However, how to be fit, or like what to do to be fit, it ends up looking more like an exercise page, or like people are selling like a diet product. It always ends up being like, here is the workout you should be doing, and here are the supplements that you should be taking. And it's not really an in-depth or complex look at something. Okay, I'll pull this image over here. We'll look at the cautionary tales. These are the ones that people tend to jump into as like really big. And you would need to talk to me about like making sure it's narrowed down. Stress in college. I've seen one really good project with this. Usually it's really complex because it ends up being really superficial, because it ends up being like more like tips. Like, you should do your homework and set aside study time, and you should be getting plenty of sleep and drinking water, and it's just, I don't know, blah, blah, yeah. Impact of social media or screen time, like on kids. There are some issues with that, but it needs to be really specific, like a specific impact that you're looking at, because there's so many impacts of social media on anybody. There's so many impacts of screen time, so you really need to kind of narrow it down a little. Air pollution, immigration, global warming, gun control, health care, online bullying, stem cell research, funding space exploration, robots in the workforce, world hunger. Ooh, that's big. Anything with the world in it is too much for a couple of week project. The existence of or reason for prejudice or discrimination. Again, try to narrow it down to a specific type of prejudice or discrimination. Online learning. Again, like online learning and COVID, like it's really actually produces a lot of really good topics. The thing is, like online learning by itself, like if you want to attach like online learning, maybe like during the pandemic, or the impact online learning will have on like the education once we get back in class, like those are two separate things. Again, like you can narrow it in a little bit, or on like a specific age group. Same thing with COVID, like large questions about COVID or a lot, because there's so many different little things, like just the vaccines, and what's happening right now with vaccines could be the ethical debate that people are having, that I see in the news a lot about, and on social media, about whether or not there should be like rewards and incentives and things like that given to get people to get vaccines. Like there's so many little topics and little issues you could really kind of focus in on, so just be really aware of that. And we are going to move on now to just the bibliography assignment that we're going to be working on.